This is hopefully a very short unit, but I want to talk a little bit about the restoration of sacred space. The fall was caused by disobedience, and in popular Christian thought, we tend to consider the fall in terms of what it did to us. We lost paradise, we were vulnerable to death now, we struggle with our desires and our sin nature. But there are some other aspects that are also really, really important. What has God lost in the fall? What have we and God together lost? You know, when a family goes through a divorce and the mom and the kids have to move from their luxury home into a 2-bedroom apartment, whatever sense of longing they have for their prior house, for paradise, so to say, is insignificant compared to the loss of their home. And that is the family relationship as it has been. That has been shattered. That is not the same. We can say there was a separation from God. I wouldn't say there was a total loss of relationship. We often say, oh, the relationship has been broken. But in chapter 4, God speaks to Cain, and Cain is not shocked that God talks to him. So there is still some kind of relationship. But a certain intimacy, a house community, a family community, that has been lost. I just have a number of small pictures for you to remember. So they lost their home, and also God lost this kind of family, and He has not gotten it back until we see the Holy Spirit fall at Pentecost and embracing mankind again, probably in the same depth and intimacy as before. But also something that happened was that God's presence was desecrated. The garden and also Eden, the place of delight, was stained with blood after Cain, but also before with mistrust and all of this. And in the Israelite worldview, the sanctity of God's presence was much more of a reality than it is to us. This concern about the purity and holiness required in a sacred space is only matched today maybe with the work that we find in laboratories where scientists work, or maybe now in Corona times. I don't know, maybe we can get a feeling for this. But there's very, very high standards because these scientists are dealing with hazardous materials. And so sin was not just a momentary problem that we could use with a bit of antiseptic and swipe it away and it's done. But it's more like a nuclear accident that caused radiation damage that has lasting effects on mankind, but also on creation and on the world. And so, yes, we were thrown out of our home, but that's also the tragedy of the ruined land. That is similar to the desecration that sin brought to God's temple cosmos in the ancient world, when a conquering army destroyed a temple. And it often desecrated the place. Often they purposefully contaminated the site so it could never be used as a temple again. And so also God's temple cosmos has been desecrated in apparently irreparable ways. And what we see in the ongoing story of the Bible, how God again and again tries to restore this, how He tries to limit evil if it gets really, really bad. Even the flood is a limitation. It's like a chemotherapy saying, man, this is bad. I can see how this will unravel. We need to start again. We need to find a new sacred space. So you have Noah and a new creation, and you have the sacrifice of Noah, and Noah being a priest. And God again and again tries to bring new priestly people and priestly functions. You know, He starts to recreate again and again. He has a new birth with Noah. He has a new birth of a new people when He takes His people through the Sea of Reeds and they reach Mount Sinai. And He always tries to establish a new priesthood that comes there. We see that also in the Old Testament with the story of the patriarchs. It often happens at holy places, we could say. You have a mountain, you have an altar, you have a tree, Bethel, and all of this. So God again and again tries to recreate what has been lost. Because what we have lost, I would say, and that's my proposal, we have lost a priestly room and a priestly function and a sacred space that we could work in. And this is what has been regained through the death and resurrection of Jesus, that we could take this function again in creation, and we need to, and we have to.